Hello my lovely humans and welcome back to another fabulous channel. I'm Jacob from J Books Corner and we're starting these 5-book vlog for January, which I'm declaring unhinged sex books. I'm also declaring having sex with inanimate objects, that type of thing. Spicy books that probably shouldn't be spicy, but here we are today. This started because of a short. If I find it, I'll play the short for you. It's of a YouTuber, or I guess a TikToker, I don't really know, I follow, that I enjoy, I find him funny. He had got a PR package from this author who wrote a story called Unhinged, which was about a woman who does things with a door, which I'm about to go graphically describe to you, because if I had to experience it, I've officially declared you had to experience it. But we're also reading, so we have Unhinged, which will pop up here. We're also reading Squeak, which I'm assuming you understand what that means, judging by the cover. We have Frisky The Snowman, because I had to start reaching towards the bottom of this list. We have Stuffed, and then we have the one from the walls, which I think is where the house fucks her. I'm not really sure, though. That one also might be a reach. Frosty and the one... those two might be reaches. I don't really know. Frosty, I'm assuming, is going to be the carrot, so, like, it's still in the same... And if it's a house, then, you know, it's the house. So I finished Unhinged earlier today in the car while we were driving in snow, and I was like, okay, let me quickly pull out Unhinged and read the last chapter so I can do this video for you today, start this video today, and we can move on to a new one, because, like, Unhinged was unhinged. That's the way I know how to describe it. So I have several notes highlighting a bunch of stuff, and I figured, because these are novellas, novelettes, short stories, whatever you want to call them, they're very short, I figured I could just read you some of my favorite quotes from them, and then we can call it a day, and also tell you my thoughts and opinions. Honestly, I really like the main character of Tana. The main character technically is the door, who is called Dreas by the end, but it's the door. I like Tana, who is the love interest in the story. I thought the book was okayly written, which is good, because I'm going to be reading another one from this author, and so I'm hoping that I liked it. I think the formatting is the problem here. There's some major issues with formatting that kind of annoyed me. And also, it's a bit wordy in the descriptions, but I somehow almost think it's supposed to be. I don't know. It's about a woman who is being stalked by her landlord, and her door ends up finding out about it, and then they end up doing things to bring the door to life. That might be too much information, to be honest with you. It's about a woman who wants to fuck her door, and we're going to talk about how she fucked her door, and the words that were used. Because, yeah. So, spoilers, she fucks her door. I won't tell you how the book ends. I won't tell you how the resolution with the landlord goes, and the whole reason why the book was written. There was an interesting author's note in the beginning talking about stalkers, and so I'm assuming that's why this book was written. It was just a really interesting idea. Why? A lot of the things here were the door just, like, thirsting for Tana, being like, oh my god, I want this woman, but I'm a door, so she can just caress my wood. And that's a lot of the earlier stuff, which not really important here. They end up meeting in a dream, and he says, you need to fuck me so I can protect you, and she decides, okay, I'll fuck you to protect you. Some of my favorite lines are on page 30. One of the quotes I grabbed was, wrapping my round brass protrusion in a soft cloth in a firm grip, she started polishing my knob in slow, smooth strokes that stirred something deep in my wood. If there's words missing, it's just simply because I'm censoring the censored. Part of the reason why I like Tana was because of this. This is a longer one, but essentially she ends up putting a protection on the door so she wouldn't get STDs, because she's like, I don't know, like, hopefully that doesn't fuck with the mojo, but I don't need to explain a UTI from this, which I thought was really funny. We don't need to talk about that, even though, like, I didn't want to read it, but I was there. To do this, she had to do it with the doorknob. It's a round doorknob, and all I'm gonna say, the words wet pop, never once needed to read again, but I did. Another thing that I was like, this is shocking, was, I knew it was ridiculous, but it made me a little jealous. I didn't want a replacement she could fuck, even theoretically. They had to buy a whole new door, so when he became a door, like, the door went with him. So they had to buy a whole new door, and he made sure he got a door that she couldn't do anything with. I don't think she's gonna fuck a door again. I don't know, maybe she will. Another thing that, like, was kind of crazy was on page 49. I kind of buried your knob in my pussy, like, a few hours ago, which was a wild line. And we also learned that he is a submissive bitch, which is how the book ends, kinda. And that's this book. It was a fun time. I think I'm giving it like a 2.5. Like, I had a fun time. Objectively, there was nothing wrong with it. I'm not really sure what the point was. So it's getting a 2.5. I hope that's understandable. Hopefully this is not one of your favorite books of all time. If it is, sorry, but it's getting a 2.5. I thoroughly enjoyed myself nonetheless while reading it, and I'm excited to go even deeper down this pathway of debauchery, come with me. I need a friend. I'll update you when I finish the next one. I want to quickly come in here and talk to you guys about the next one that I read, which was They Came From the Walls, a monster erotica. This is, I would definitely count this as more like direct erotica than very low plot, very much smut. I would say there's smut from chapter 2 onwards, and there's 14 chapters. A lot of assault. I think that's why I'm giving it a 2 overall, because of the amount of the assault, the amount of questionable assault. I had mentioned that there would be in the beginning, so I was aware going in, I just wasn't sure how much there would be. And I would say the entire book, the last book was about, someone falling in love with a door. This is definitely about a house taking advantage of a girl, and that's, I don't really like it. I just don't like a lot of the wording here, because there's a lot of repeat words. I'll pick out a few key words here that popped up almost every page. So we have seam, you can guess where that goes into. Intrusion, assaulted, wood, dripping, probed, invading, bondage. On that note, I really liked how inventive this one was. On a different note, I mean, it truly was the walls coming to life. Walls would pop out of the hands that would be wooden or whatever, as if this house could grow something. And I thought that was really cool. But the concept here is really cool. I just didn't like the entire execution, and the ending was very trash. So I'm giving it like a 2.5. No, I'm giving it like a 2 because of the very. I think it's gonna work for some people. To me, it didn't really work. I also like some substance with my smut, and this was just like, okay, I have a feeling the next one's gonna be very similar to this. I feel like then we'll jump into some of the ones that maybe have a little bit of substance with their smut, whatever that might be. Kind of interesting. I'm curious to see where we're going. Huge spoiler, so if you do want to read this one, like I said, the concept's pretty cool. If you want just straight smut for like 60 or 70 pages, I recommend it if you're interested. If you can handle, like I said, the very in-between consensual conversation that's going on here. But if you don't care and you want to hear some spoilers, let me tell you some spoilers. So basically, this house attacks her multiple times throughout the book, makes her, multiple times throughout the book, but she keeps asking for a man. So the house built 4 men outside of their house, like built out of their house, is essentially what happens, and they all at the end, and then she just leaves. She's like, I have to go home. I have things to do. And then she just leaves, and she's like, maybe I'll be back. And it was the weirdest ending ever. The way the writing was, the way the entire thing was. I mean, I get it, like, boom, get out of there. That's her whole goal throughout the entire book, is to leave the house, which makes everything very wonky. That's what makes this very wonky, because of the things that they do. I don't know. It was weird. There was one line that made me audibly cringe. That's the only way I know how to describe it. I audibly cringed. The one beside me blinked, sparkly black, blank, all over, blank is all I can really read for you. Obviously, I'm going to keep a little bit of surprise for you. I thought that was that was like at the very end of the book. So it will pop up very towards the end, because I was like, what the fuck? And the thing that they said next was like even worse, but like it's like a whole paragraph. So yeah, I'm giving this one like a 2. I said 2. My fiance chose me to read Frisky next. That's my next adventure today, so I'll update you while I read it, because I might be reading it upstairs. I don't know yet, or I'll update you at some point. I thought, door was sex. Bad. No, not bad. It's fine. House was sex. Yeah, it technically was bad. There was a lot of like weird things I didn't really like. Nothing. I thought maybe, I didn't pick this one. My fiance, I was like, ooh, what should my next thing of these things be? Because I have 3 more to read. And I was like, which one sounds good to you? Which one, which one do you want to hear about next? I didn't tell you about the entire time. I read passages from him. He normally sits right beside me while I read them, type of thing. The whole thing. And he looked at me, he said, oh, you should read the snowman one. And I was like, okay. And I said, that's fine. The house one and the snowman one, I wasn't really sure would fall underneath this category. I mean, it follows. Oh my god. This woman just sat on a carrot. I'm dead. I know that the concept is to fucking, like they should probably come to life, right? The house came to life, everything. But, like, the house, when it came to life, it was like a house. He just became a man. I don't understand. It's only 22% in. There's so much more to go, and he just became a fucking man. And she likes stuff carrots on snow. I'm just saying, I don't really think it's gonna work out, dude. So I 2-second update. His penis is still a carrot. Still like him. We've officially finished Frisky, and I kind of want this to be over. You know, when Frisky is the book that's kind of broken me with this vlog series for this 5-book. It truly was the bane of my existence, and I hated every minute reading it with all the passion in the entire fucking world. If this book was never written, I would be a happier soul. It is the worst book I read this year, and I'm only 21 days into it. I would be fucking shocked. Let me read you some of these lines. So the difference between this book and the house book, which was rated higher, okay? It's going to be rated higher. I think this is like a 1.5. I think that was like a 1.75. I don't know. It's rated higher than the house book. And I have a strong feeling Stuffed and Squeak could also be rated higher than this. Like if this is not, I have some pretty big things. Like I said, I was reading this and I kind of explained, I don't know what all I talked about in those clips of me reading this book. I want to skip over all the Frisky stuff before he turns into like he knows. I'm also gonna skip over words such as gush, because or no one needs to hear that. Just know. One of the things that that it just didn't make sense to me. At least the other books have like a good reason. Like, yeah, this is based off Frosty the Snowman. That's the whole point. That's the gimmick, right? But Frosty didn't really have a brain when he came back from, I remember. Maybe he was really smart. I don't remember. But I don't remember him being smart. And so like Frisky can turn off alarm systems. He understands how to speak dirty to someone, which is kind of crazy to me. I guess I can kind of get, but I don't get it at all. Then the 40% mark takes a turn. So the first 20%, 30% is her doing things with the snowman, and then the snowman being alive and not wanting her to know that he's alive. It's a whole thing because he thinks he's gonna hate her because he thinks she loves him because he's a snowman, which is true, kind of true. She loves him because he has a carrot dick, like an actual carrot for a dick. But that's a different story for a different day. Actually, it's a story, but it's just, do you want to hear about it? I don't think so. So she ends up getting attacked by this dude named Chad. Frisky comes in and kills Chad because Chad's a bad guy. Comes in and kills Chad, and yet the line that she says after she is tied up in the bed. Frisky doesn't know what to do with her, so she ties him up. He ties her up in his bed. So she's talking about how, oh my god, if he just wants to do bad things to me, go ahead. I'm wide open. It's not like I do anything. Like, she's making jokes about maybe getting assaulted. And that, you ruined your character. You ruined your character. One of the lines in here, horrible. I almost got Chad's dick, whether I wanted it or not. Like, no, that's a gross line. Why'd you even write it down? Why was it even in your wheelhouse of writing? If he wants to please me, go nuts, dude. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Then, okay, I'm gonna reiterate this once. Snow is involved, going into places that Snow should never go into. That's all I'll say. Just so you don't want to know. If you do, comment, and maybe I'll tell you in the comments. Oh, and then, so you take off the hat, and he's like a snowman. You put the hat back on, he's no longer, he's now human, right? And so she's doing stuff to his snowman parts, and she puts the hat back on, and he transforms while she's still doing things to the snowman parts. I'm trying to do this in the vaguest way possible. My large carrot blank still rests in her hand, and she's super happy. She's gleaming. She calls it a Christmas miracle. Another one that was really iconic line from this book is, "Made me so fooled by both vegetables." I'll let you figure out what that means. Another one that I thought was really funny is he's fully human at the end of this book, obviously, because Frosty. He smiles at me, but a hint of sadness lingers in his eyes, because he's no longer a snowman. Fun fact, the epilogue, it shows that he can turn into a snowman. There's no explanation for it. I don't know if there is one in Frosty. I don't remember if Frosty becomes a real boy or not. That's not the point. This was a 1.5. The writing was pretty bad. I mean, it was fine. Definitely not the worst I've ever read, but definitely not the best I've ever read. It was just more like my brain hurt while reading it. I've only had this experience a few times before in my life, and one of those was watching Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey for a commentary. You can literally watch me get a migraine for an hour and a half. This was a very similar experience. I couldn't really tell you why, but it was a very similar experience. I hate it. Do not recommend. My fiance was like, "Why rate it so horribly if you thought it was an average book?" Because I don't want people to think I like it. I don't want people to know that I read it. I feel embarrassed. Also, I'm putting the decoration out there. What is the word? Where you declare something. I'm declaring that extreme horror is easier. For anybody who reads extreme horror, you need to read Frisky, because there are lines that are scarier than anything I read in extreme horror so far. I've never watched someone get tortured, read someone doing it. This shit. Okay. That being said, I decided I would leave Squeak for the end, because Squeak is we're gonna bookend with the same author. So we're moving over into Stuffed, which is about a pillow, which I would say it's the most normal one in here. I'm just happy I don't have to read about Carrot again. That's what I'm excited for. If any carrots pop up, I'm gonna be fucking traumatized. I'll update you guys when I finish it. Guys, I actually read a book in this video that wasn't horrible. So we read my worst one before. Obviously, we talked about Frisky. Now let's talk about Stuffed. Stuffed was not bad. It wasn't great. I mean, I've definitely read worse. But I've also I definitely read better, but I've also read much, much, much worse. Like, oh my gosh, much worse. Let me quickly explain what Stuffed is. So Stuffed is about a woman who is a germaphobe who doesn't really like touching indoor men or anything else like that. I also find it really interesting because honestly, in the beginning of the book, I really felt like she was more on the lines of like asexual and things, and she still could be. There's no identification here. But she was the first character I was like, I don't know. This feels a little weird. And it continued to feel a little weird as the book progressed, which we'll talk about. As she is obviously the course of few men that want to try to get her attention, who want to attack her. Those are common themes in these books, apparently. So just to put that out there. Assault is a common theme in these books, apparently. This is the third one that's had it. Not graphically, this one does get stopped in a kind of hysterical way. Then she has this pillow that she is like obsessed with, this like satin pillow, and she's like really like excited to be with this pillow. This pillow ends up turning into a man because it's a phoenix and it's being reborn to pleasure her, and in that process it kills a few things. So let's talk about it. So like I said, that's basically the non-spoilery review I can give you. It's very funny, it's very fun. I liked the way that the author, just like the house book, was very similar in that regard. It wasn't just like this pillow came to life into a man. This pillow like became a pillow man, which I thought was really cool, and that was really fun, and I quite enjoyed reading a lot of those things. There's lines like slippery that doesn't make really sense for the character. Like there's some of those things that seems to be more like a highlighter, and I'm just like, it's fine. I don't really like it. Interesting enough, the pill also sucks the essence of life out of the person, so it murders a lot of insects. And also, there's a character, I think, named Dave or something out of those lines. He touches the pillow. He basically sucks the life force to the point where he's like an elderly man, and then he kind of drops them off and can't kill them. He does this with a few other people. He sucks the life force through a few different children as well. And then at the very end, with like the epilogue and stuff, he ends up killing the landlord, like almost fully fledged kills the landlord, where he realizes he could possibly turn into a human. But we're all here for the disgusting lines that made me cringe, right? Another thing is she is a virgin. I think this is the first one that deals with virgins. And so when they have sex, his genitalias can shrink and get bigger depending on the moment. And so that was really interesting to read about. So like there's a line that's on page 65 is he shrinks inside me. It's a strange sort of relief, which I thought was a really interesting line. Then also she's very much into anime and hentai and things like that. And so tentacles become a thing. And so she has tentacles that are doing multiple things to her, which was also very interesting to read about for sure. And then because we have been kind of talking about what happens when the men, you know, he does feathers come out of him, which was also a very interesting time. I think I skipped over the ones that simply say like wetness and those things. I just don't understand how like those things are interesting to people, but apparently it is. And slippery, those are common words used in these books, and I just don't get it. But that being said, it was the first one that I would probably read the sequel to, which is called I think it's just called Sequel or Double Stuffed, I think is what it's called. I would probably read that. I like the book enough, I like the writing enough, and I felt like this one was just the first one I was like, yeah, maybe this one I would recommend if you're interested. It's a 3. It's nothing, like I'm not blowing it away. That being said, we have one more, which is called a Squeak, which is a balloon animal one. We're ending with the same author we began with, and I'll come in and I'll update you guys tomorrow when I finish it. What's up at Squeak by Vera Valentine? This is probably my second least favorite. I will rank them and tell you if you should read them or not at the end of this video. But this is probably my second least favorite one out of them all. This is Squeak, a balloon animal amogaverse tale. These two guys who were sexually abused and things from this goddess who could turn them into like balloon animals, essentially is what it is. And it wasn't good. It just wasn't good. The writing wasn't particularly good. It was very long run end on paragraphs with details, and then there's character choices that just didn't make any sense. It just felt like the author was like, oh my god, we've had 0 sex for like so many pages, we have to put sex in here. And that's kind of what it felt like by the end. It is a polyamorous relationship by the end, so that is something you're interested in this type of story, then I would recommend it. Maybe just go read it and come back. There's a sequel I don't plan on reading. I think her first book, Unhinged, was much better better. I don't know which one she wrote first, but overall the design, the entire thing was just much better as a door, not as this. Because this also deals with goddess and stuff. I didn't really care for any of it, so I don't really have a lot of notes to say on it. I don't really have a lot of notes to say on the story, period. It follows a girl named Poppy and two boys, one named Sebastian, one named Kian. So the Kian and Sebastian are the ones that kind of like are together. They're in a couple relationship. They break out from this trauma and run away and figure out that they fall in love with each other and figure out how to play with their balloon animals and how to make them connect and things, which, you know, that's cute. And then there's this girl named Poppy who shows up. They have to do this like drawing thing to break this curse. And Poppy is a drawer, but eventually Poppy and Kian end up having sex, and they end up mating with one another at some point. Well, I mean, afterwards. And it's a whole thing. And then she ends up mating with Sebastian as well at the very end. They become like a partner. I will have to say, I wonder if the author wasn't really sure how to write a lot of the end, or wanted it to be more novella length, nothing longer. I feel like maybe this would work better as a longer novel. Not that I would probably read it, but like, I feel like it would work better as a longer novel, because the last chapter was a completely show not tell type of, or I mean, a tell not show type of chapter. I read like this is what's happening in the scene, not actually seeing what's happening in that scene. It's more like it felt more like she was writing a elongated outline for like what you're supposed to be writing that day, and instead she just wrote it. So I didn't care for that either. I didn't think it was very well done in that regard. It didn't make me excited to read the sequel. I didn't really understand what the point of there being a sequel one. Like Stuff I understood, but Stuff was also a much better written novel. So like, yeah, I just wouldn't recommend. I wouldn't recommend Squeak. Let me see if I have anything about their knots for me to tell you about them. And you know, I didn't really highlight a lot. Like, this is probably the least one that has the least amount of highlights. Oh, I really like the when I smoothed between the legs with the plastic doll, the caramel pennies won at toss game. I really enjoyed that line. I was talking about their genitalia and how the balloon can shrink really small or get really big. That's a common theme in these type of books as well. There was a sexual scene between Kian and Seb, which I thought was pretty okay. I just didn't think the girl was necessary. That's my point. Didn't like the line. It was mine to take. Kian was mine to take just because of all of the talk about what happened before them. It felt very claimy, and I didn't enjoy that. I also thought it was kind of funny on page 45. He tilted his hips and nodded downwards, whereas entire public region still locked on my own had gone a deep royal purple and translucent, and I thought that was pretty funny. There's this whole thing of where she's like freaking out and he purrs and she gets calm. Like, I didn't like any of it. This, I originally, when I finished it initially, I rated a 1.75 stars because I didn't like it and I felt like it was pointless. Which, I mean, I don't know. I enjoyed some of these. So, like, me saying they're all pointless is just ridiculous because that's just not how I feel. The moral of the story here is, I think it's more like a 2, like a solid 2. So let's talk about them as a whole. Would I recommend them? Where's my ranking? So if you're looking for straight smut, I would go with the Demon House thing. That was straight smut from beginning to end. It was an experience and it's a fun time, but like, it's an experience. But let's talk about likability, which ones I would actually recommend. So I would obviously recommend Stuffed. I think that's the top bar. Then I would probably go They Came For Me Through the House, or whatever it's called. I'll know when I put up the picture up on the screen. I'd recommend that one probably next. Then I'd go Unhinged. Then I would go Squeak. And then I would go Frisky, because no one needs to read Frisky. Honestly, I would say Frisky and the House one, we talked about the House one. It has to deal with a lot of sexual stuff that could make a lot of people uncomfortable. I did have an enjoyment of time of reading it. That's this 5 vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys all next month. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll talk to you guys all next time. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.